How's it going? My name's Rock, and I'm back with another Freelancer breakdown, this time for the Pain Train man himself. Or really, the Pain Train beast himself, Rask. Rask is a frontliner capable of dealing out massive damage and some just being completely obnoxious. You just cannot get away from him. So if you want to find out why I believe so, and why so many others do, stay tuned for his abilities and my thoughts and opinions. Rask's first ability is Maul, a blast phase no cooldown ability which will claw everybody in a cone. The smaller cone deals more damage, the bigger cone deals less damage, but you also get 8 energy per enemy hit. Modifications include Bestial. Nearby enemies take additional damage, and further away enemies also take additional damage. Primal Fury, which will generate additional energy on nearby targets, and a little less energy on further away targets. Shredding Steel, which ignores cover, and Crippling Slash. Adjacent enemies are slowed for the turn. You must hit them in the smaller cone for this slow to be effective. Rask's second ability is Upheaval. It's a blast phase 4-turn cooldown ability which throws an enemy backwards, dealing direct damage to them and gaining 10 energy if you hit an enemy. Modifications include Fling, which will increase the range by 1 and the knockback by 1. Aftershock, which will affect all targeted enemies in the knockback area. Ravage, which will deal additional damage. And Power Ripple. You'll get extra energy if you hit an enemy. Rask's third ability is Pain Train. It's a dash phase 4-turn cooldown ability which tramples over everyone in a certain path, and once he lands will also deal direct damage to the end part. You gain 8 energy per enemy hit. Modifications include Mad Dash, which will increase the damage at the landing zone by 3. Surge, which increases the range by 1. Trample Underfoot, which will slow enemies that are hit for the turn. And Pounce, which will gain extra energy per target hit. Rask's fourth ability is Augmented Regeneration. It's a prep phase 8-turn cooldown ability for reaction, which will gain health per turn if you're over 60 health. When you activate it at 60 or less health, you'll gain additional health instead. It lasts for 2 turns. You also gain 5 energy upon use. Modifications include Quick Mend. Instead of healing everything over a turn, you get it all in one big chunk, 20 if you're above the threshold, 30 if you're below. Shielding Factor, which gains you shields on use. Unrelenting, which gives you unstoppable for the turn. And Pain Tolerance, which increases the threshold to a higher amount. Rask's fifth ability is Uncontrollable Fury. It's a blast phase, no turn cooldown ability for reaction that must require 100 energy to use. Its passive will also gain you energy when you're damaged on top of using your abilities. Once you activate it, it resets all your cooldowns and creates a zone of plasma that deals 20 indirect damage and lasts for 2 turns. Modifications include Controllable Fury, which no longer triggers automatically. Fueled by Rage, which will grant you might for the next 2 turns. Bristled Fur, which gains you shield until the end of the next turn. And Driving Rage, you gain Unstoppable and Haste until the end of the next turn. So here are my thoughts and opinions on Rask, and Rask is one of my favorite frontliners to use, and apparently a lot of other people's as well, because quite frankly, he just wrecks shop. You see him a lot in more of the organized play on the PPL. On top of it, you'll see him frequently inside of normal just pug games, for a very, very good reason. His kit synergizes with so many other freelancers, it's insane, and on his own, if you don't get U-turn and you play a little smart, you just can pick a target or 2 or 3, he can thrive much better in group settings. And just be a pain and a nuisance, a one-man wrecking crew. It's insane. So Maul itself as a primary ability isn't very bad for frontliners. In fact, one of the better ones considering how large that cone is. Its modifications aren't terrible, at least in my opinion. Bestial's additional damage can never be discounted, but at 3 tokens, it's quite a bit. Primal Fury is great if you want to constantly put out your ultimates of Uncontrollable Fury, which is actually probably one of the better parts. And if you have a team that's really good on zone coverage and lockdown, that's definitely a modification you want to consider. Shredding Steel, I love anything that ignores cover because you'll often find someone's trying to run. You'll often find they'll try to get over a little hedge, take less damage, and survive a turn. Shredding Steel just says nope, and you can secure a kill real easy for that. And Crippling Slash as a default mod isn't that bad at all, but a lot of people assume that it's slow will just work in general if you hit everybody in the cone. You must hit them in the smaller cone, which is indicated by the smaller internal cone, like when you look at the attack. It's a little hard to see for some people, you might forget about it, but it's definitely something to consider. Upheaval is just straight fun. What a lot of people forget is where you target them with your Upheaval cone is where they'll get knocked back to. So you actually have a degree of control on where you send somebody, and a lot of people forget about that with Rask. They just assume you'll get knocked straight back. This is great because Rask can combo into some great stuff like a Nyx Sentry or a Asana Zone, or sorry, Aurora Zone, or anything like that. That's really, really cool. You can combo him with Juno. He has a lot of really fun combo abilities with Upheaval. 4 turns is not a terrible ability at all, and 20 damage is a little on the small side, but that's fine. He's got other damage elsewhere. This bit of control is really the best part of it. His modifications, Fling, not terrible. It's not bad for, what is it, a default modification, if I'm not mistaken. Aftershock is really, really good, and might be one of the few times I'll say go ahead and splurge on a 3 token ability. Because of the fact it'll hit everybody in your zone, in your range, that's really cool, especially if you have a really big AoE heavy team. Ravage, extra damage, okay, whatever. I think it's 3 mods, it's not bad. I don't know, I'm a little torn on it. And Power Ripple is one of my favorites for 1 mod token. You can still keep modification on there, get a little extra energy if you know you're going to keep hitting people with it, and get faster ultimates. Pain Train, one of my favorite name abilities, and 2 is fantastic. And I keep saying that with Rask because everything on his kit synergizes so well. He's becoming a problem. Trampling over them, not a big deal. It's really the end zone you're worried about, and because it's more of a short range, medium range dash, you can cover some surprising distance with it. People assume that they'll get out of dodge really easily, but you're right back on their tail. Mad Dash, extra damage at landing location for 1 mod token. If you have nothing else left to put on, it's not bad. 20 direct damage from its base is not bad at all. Not knocking Rask's damage. I don't typically see it being as severe as the other firepowers, but it's consistent damage. Everything on him is consistent. Surge will increase the range, great for a default ability. Lets people kind of get used to what Pain Train can do, and it lets them kind of get used to how Rask works and where you can kind of pull back and try to go as far as you can with the jumps. Trample Underfoot, I love control. I keep saying it in all my videos. And if you can slow people down, everyone you're passing through, if you're good at keeping people down in lockdown and AoE, that's going to be a fantastic modification. Pounce, again, I prefer if I'm in pugs because I want to get as many ultimates out as I can during play. And with Rask, it's great because it's not just a one and done. His ult will stick around, and the more energy you get, the more ultimates you get, the more zone coverage you get. Augmented Regeneration. First off, an 8-turn cooldown sounds redonkulous. It actually really is. And if you are really bad at judging when your ultimate goes off, or how bad you are at your turns, or really just really bad placement, Augmented Regeneration might as well just be useless for a lot of players if they're not being careful. Those 8 turns are suicidal. It's signing your own death warrant if you have to use it too early. That said, 30 health over the course of 2 turns is nothing to sneeze at. It always happens at prep turns, so you're not lost. You won't get knocked out unless you get overhit with damage. Quick Mend I prefer a lot, especially in pugs. Typically, when I'm using it, I use it right before or just prior to an ult, so I just get a nice chunk of health back right away, and I feel is really, really fun and can throw people off and aggravate them when they think they've got you down for the turn, and they'll assume they'll be able to blast through your damage in 2 turns. All of a sudden, it's there now. Shield factor, can't laugh at it. At 3 mod tokens, though, I think Quick Mend and Pain Tolerance will be a little more interesting. Unrelenting is also really good if you if you know you're going to get hit with a lot of control in the enemy team. This is how you keep everybody in check and in your range of just terror and reign of terror, I should say. And Pain Tolerance is a fantastic ability if you're just starting off with Rask. Having that threshold increase to 85 health is a better insurance policy, because at 60 health, a lot of people tend to panic. They'll want to blink in or out of something and into something that'll kill them, or they'll blow it too early and not get the full benefit of Augmented Regeneration. So this kind of eases you into where you can, where's the safe zone. You'll take roughly X amount of damage per this turn, so Pain Tolerance can help you get that health back a little bit quicker. An Uncontrollable Fury is the hardest part about Uncontrollable Fury is that unless you take Controllable Fury, the modification will always happen when you're at 100 energy, which makes Rask more of a ticking time bomb than anything else. Careless enemies are the best factor for this, and even smart enemies can get caught out in Controllable Fury if the Rask player is smart. This is what separates the more, what's it called? I don't want to say it, but really, the bad from the good. It's a lack of a better phrase, at least at this point in time. Mostly because Most clever Rask players will keep their energy and their awareness and their distance in check. That way they can get the most benefit out of Controllable Fury. If you're in a pug game, that means, getting the right kind of catalysts to help you out and keep all the damage and keep them in your zone of control, or saving your Augmented Regeneration and your Pain Train for when you're getting really close to keep yourself and getting that 3-turn window of just insane Rask damage. So that said, Controllable Fury, if you really do not like the fact that you can't control it the way you want to control it and you end up getting too much energy in a turn and you're just triggering the ult, that's something to keep in mind, because it's only 2 mod points. It's not terrible. I kind of prefer having that ticking time bomb. People they're more afraid of me as Rask when I have that. And it's nice to throw people off with Controllable Fury, but I don't find it as effective compared to the rest of his modifications. Fueled by Rage, giving you Might for 3 tokens. It's really expensive, but with Maul's short range, and with that Might, that deals some pretty high damage, and it's really scary. And if you're playing a team right, there's a lot of control here, and you get your resets on Pain Train and with Upheaval and Augmented Regeneration, and you have the right catalysts, you can take full advantage of that Might and just be scarier on your own. No one has to be worried about that Lockwood anymore because you're going to be the one doing stupid damage. Bristled Fur, extra shield's never that bad. If you trigger your ultimate about 2 or 3 times a game, 30 shield, it'll absorb roughly 1 attack. I feel like other mods are better, but for 1 mod token, don't ignore it. And Driving Rage is the default modification, if I'm not mistaken. Giving you Unstoppable and Haste is really good in case you... in case you blew your plasma load a little too early and you gotta play catch up. So that's gonna be kind of like your... It's very similar to Pain Train's extra range and Upheaval's extra range on that knockback. It's more of an insurance policy. All of his default skills are kind of your safety nets for Rask. And they're not terrible at all, but if you understand how Rask works and you can adapt to that playstyle really well, stuff like Fueled by Rage, or Controllable Fury, or Aftershock, or Quick Mend, those are going to be what you really want to aim for Rask, to customize how you play and become a little more unpredictable and a scary, scary, scary opponent. Especially with this Halloween skin, which is phenomenal, by the way. And that's about it for me at Rock this time with Atlas Reactor's Freelancer Breakdown, this time featuring Rask. If you ever want to talk to me, QueueTimes is on Reddit. We post to the appropriate things whenever they come out. Like this will be on the r/Atlas Reactor subreddit. You can find me personally at AdRockDraws on Twitter and on Twitch. I'll occasionally try and stream my drawings, if not my gameplay like Atlas Reactor, as well as QueueTimes. Check them out on Twitter. Check them out on YouTube. These are the videos where they come out. Leave a comment. We do our best to read those and adjust accordingly and talk back to you guys. So until then, I'll see you later. Peace.